Piano scales are one of the biggest stumbling blocks for most piano students. In this lesson, you'll learn how to build any major scale at the piano, starting from any note. We'll focus on major scales since they're best suited as a starting point. There are three types of minor scale, but only one type of major scale. You'll need to know about half steps and whole steps in order to proceed with this lesson. But let me explain. Most piano students know that if they play all the white keys between middle C and the next higher C, they'll play a C major scale. Yet students tend to have difficulty learning the other major scales, and I'd like to help clear up that confusion in this lesson. Let's take a look at the C major scale. In particular, let's look at the piano keys you don't play. In the case of C major, it's the black keys that we don't play. So here's an octave on the piano keyboard, starting with middle C. So this is C, and this is C. So the distance from any C to the next higher C, or for that matter, any note to the next higher equivalent note, so C sharp to this C sharp, D to this D, E flat to this E flat, etc. This distance is an octave. Now notice how there's a key between C and D. So this is the key that's in between. Since there's exactly one key in between C and D, this black key, the interval between C and D is called a whole step. Now let's look at the next interval from D to E. Since there's also a key in between, it's also a whole step. So here it is, the D and the E with this black key in between. So that's another whole step. Now the next interval is from E to F. These keys are touching each other. They're absolutely adjacent with no key in between. So this interval is called a half step. Now, next, F to G, G to A, and A to B all have one key in between. So F, G has this in between, G to A, this black key in between, A to B has this black key in between. So therefore, these are all whole steps. Whole step from F to G, whole step from G to A, and a whole step from A to B. Finally, B and C are directly next to each other. This interval, then, is a half step. So putting everything together, we discover that the C major scale is composed of the following intervals. Starting on C, we go a whole step to D, then a whole step to E, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So this is the formula for major scales. Start on any key, then play a whole step, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Using this formula, you can now play any major scale on the piano. Let me just give you one more example. Let's start on this key. This is a G, and we simply apply the formula. So whole step, half step. We see there's a whole step because there's a piano key in between. Another whole step from here to here because there's this key in between. This is a half step because there's nothing in between. So start again on G, whole step, half step, whole step, another whole step leads us to this black key, and then a half step. And that is a G major scale. Now give it a try as an exercise for yourself. Try starting on any key and apply the formula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and you'll be able to play all of the major scales on the piano very soon.